Who else? It's Kevin Durant, who requested a trade from the Nets yesterday after playing just 90 regular season games and winning just one playoff series in his 3 years in Brooklyn. He's going to be on the move. My question for you, GP, does this hurt his legacy?
It's a part of his story. I think ultimately Kevin Durant's legacy is going to be as one of the most gifted, talented, impactful basketball players and unique basketball players we've ever seen. You know, once upon a time, if you were 7 feet tall, you wanted to be, Patrick Ewing or Shaquille O'Neal or Hakeem Olajuwon. There are kids growing up right now who are going to grow to be 7 feet tall, and they don't want to be any of those guys. They want to be Kevin Durant. So I think that's his legacy. But this is a part of his story because he has been a generational talent since really he was at Texas in that 1 year in the Big 12. Obviously, he's the second pick in a draft, goes to Oklahoma City, scoring titles, an MVP, takes them to the finals, and after getting beat over the head over and over again about you've still never won a title, decided he was going title chasing and joined the Golden State Warriors, who had already won a championship. And that just didn't sit well with all basketball fans. Then he actually wins multiple titles and decided that wasn't what he wanted anymore. So then he gets with his best buddy, Kyrie Irving, and they go to Brooklyn, and they're supposed to win titles, and that has been a mess for a variety of reasons, basically from the jump, and now here he is, unhappy again, wanting to go somewhere else. So this will always be a part of his story, but largely I think most people view Kevin Durant as an unbelievable basketball player who has done things at that level 99.9% of people would never be able to do.
So does he need to win another title?
I think so, unless he's comfortable with people being dismissive of his accomplishments the rest of his life on social media, and he doesn't strike me as the type that is. I mentioned, when he left Oklahoma City for Golden State, that was a little bit like LeBron James leaving Cleveland for Miami. LeBron got to a point where he'd been close, but he couldn't quite get there. People are screaming he doesn't have a title. Watch this. I'm going to get a title. And that's what Kevin Durant did. And yet, as soon as he got his titles with the Golden State Warriors, the people who were yelling about, yeah, but you never won a title, they just switched up a little bit. They said, well, you never won a real title. That's not your title. That's Steph Curry's title. Yeah, they were champions before you. And so from that, it's like, okay, I'll go to Brooklyn and I'll prove I can do this with a cast of characters that's never done it. And that obviously has not gone well either. So, he probably needs to end his career, and he's still got some incredible years left, it appears, with another championship, or else he'll have to hear those same things, for the rest of his life.
Some more NBA news today. Former number 1 overall pick Zion Williamson has only played 85 games over 3 years for the Pelicans, but still cashed in on a massive 5-year, $231 million deal. Zion missed all of last year, but when he's played, he's certainly been a difference maker for New Orleans, Gary.
A real difference maker. I mean, he's played 85 games in the NBA. He's averaged 25.7 points, 7 rebounds, and shot above 60% from the field. He is currently the only player in NBA history averaging 25-plus points on 60% shooting. So when he's on the court, he is a generational talent. And that is why if you're New Orleans, I guess you got to take a big gulp before you do it, but you have no real choice but to put the contract on the table and give him every penny you can give him and lock him up for as long as you can lock him up. And then you just got to keep your fingers crossed and hope that he stays healthy, in shape, and healthy. And if you're Zion, it's also a no-brainer. Like, there's been speculation that he doesn't see his career playing out in New Orleans forever, just like Chris Paul, just like Anthony Davis. But when you have had the injury problems he's had, you've got to lock up this money because it'll be guaranteed even if he never plays again. And if he gets to a point where he doesn't want to be in New Orleans, well, pretty common in the NBA now to just say, trade me please, and you get what you want. Either way, like New Orleans with a healthy Zion Williamson is ready to compete in the West, next season. So there's a scenario where this works out really well for everybody. But I think for both sides, for different reasons, this was a no-brainer to get this deal done.
Do you think he will stay healthy now going forward?
I mean, who could say for sure? I want to be optimistic because, I like watching awesome basketball players be awesome. And he is certainly that. But it has been a problem, first at Duke and then in the NBA. And I say this as respectfully as I can say it, but, his body has not been in the best condition. And there's some thought that at least some of the injuries he's endured have been connected to being a little too heavy to play this sport the way he plays it. To be clear, he can still be awesome, overwhelming, an all-star level guy at, it appears, any weight. But can he be consistently healthy at the weight at which he's tried to play in the NBA so far? I'm less optimistic about that. So if you're New Orleans, or just a basketball fan in general, I think what you're hoping is he gets in the best shape of his life, and all the images I've seen lately are encouraging, and then he stays on the court, because Zion Williamson on the court is a really unique player. Probably nobody else like him in the NBA.
Meanwhile, a big trade earlier today between the Jazz and Timberwolves, which saw Rudy Gobert sent to Minnesota for 5 players and multiple first-round picks. The 3-time Defensive Player of the Year should help fortify the post alongside Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, Utah is clearly going into a rebuild, and that's what this is evidence of. They're going to try to build around Donovan Mitchell, but they're willing to take a step back to possibly take a step forward. It has become clear in recent years that, maybe Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell didn't love playing with each other. So you were almost going to have to pick one, and they have made their pick. For Minnesota, I love this. They've got some really interesting pieces now. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and now you add Rudy Gobert. A flawed player, certainly not a modern center, but he's such an incredible rim protector, and he can guard okay enough in space to stay on the court. And so I think Minnesota just clearly got better and, became a real factor in the Western Conference.
So you mentioned now it appears the Jazz are rebuilding around Donovan Mitchell. Do you think that's going to work for them?
We'll see. I mean, it's obviously they're getting a lot of draft picks, for moves they've made over the past couple of days. And a lot of this is going to be determined by whether you hit on those draft picks and how do you develop and what does Donovan Mitchell actually become, because he's not a perfect player either. An interesting talent at the age of 25, still a bright future in front of him, but he needs to develop more as well if he's going to be the type of lead guy that leads you to a championship. But if you're a Utah fan, I think you got to be hopeful, if only because, Danny Ainge, who's running your franchise, has been through this before. He blew up the Boston Celtics and rebuilt it into a legitimate, championship contender. One that, and I know he wasn't there this past year, but his fingerprints were all over that Celtics roster that, just made the NBA Finals. And so if you're Utah, at the very least, you've got a guy who's been through it before, trying to take you through it now, and that's reason enough to, I think, be optimistic.
Well, we will certainly find out. This is a fun time of year, though, right, for somebody like you?
Well, people have argued that the NBA's offseason is more interesting than the regular season, and over the past couple of days, it certainly felt that way.
Welcome back. Time now for us to take 5, where we're going to hit on 5 more NBA topics. We start with Zach LaVine, who agreed to a $215 million deal with the Bulls. He's been terrific in Chicago the last 2 seasons, landing on the All-Star team each year. Do you like this move for both sides, Gary?
I do, because Zach LaVine is in a place where he can clearly win, and I think even at a higher level going forward. And for the Bulls, I mean, this is what you do when you've got a franchise guard. He's only 27 years old and has been in Chicago since 2017. Averaged at least 23 points in each of the past 4 seasons. Has shot at least 37% from 3 in each of the past 4 seasons. This is a high-level basketball player, and when you've got one of those in your franchise, particularly one at this age, you give him the money you can give him.
That is well said. And last night, the Knicks got their point guard, inking JALEN BRUNSON to a 4-year deal for over $100 million. Is this a smart signing for New York, or did they pay a little bit too much for the former Villanova star?
It is a big number, undeniably, for a guy who's never been an all-star and might never be an all-star, but they identified him as the guy they wanted. They were willing to go above $100 million. They hired his father, Rick Brunson, to be an assistant coach earlier this year. So this is somebody they had prioritized. And I will say, though, you make a fair point. It's possibly more money than you'd like to spend on this level of player. But dating back to college, betting on JALEN BRUNSON has always been a good bet.
Yeah.
He was a 2-time national champion, National Player of the Year, still went in the second round of his draft, and that seems right now way too low.
All right, meantime, a big trade in the NBA today is the Celtics added Malcolm Brogdon in a deal with the Pacers, sending 5 players and a 2023 first-round pick back to Indiana. Boston came close to a title this past season. Is this the move that gets them over the top?
It certainly could. I mean, in the betting markets this afternoon, they moved to the favorite to win the 2023 NBA title. In Malcolm Brogdon, you get a legitimate point guard option with size. He's 6'5", so he can guard multiple positions. You know, hasn't played more than 56 games in any of the past 3 seasons. I guess that's an area of concern. But I give Brad Stevens a lot of credit here. He recognized what Boston was missing in those finals. Marcus Smart's a terrific player, incredible defensive player, but he's not a true point guard. Now they add somebody who can take some of that playmaking responsibility away from him, and absolutely, the Celtics are better today than they were yesterday.
Okay, how about John Wall? He agreed on a 2-year, $13 million contract with the Clippers. Of course, Wall didn't play the entire season in Houston, the second time in 3 years that he missed an entire campaign. Do you think he can bounce back in LA next to Kawhi Leonard, Gary?
Probably not to where he was, the level at which he was an all-star year after year after year in Washington. But can he be a useful piece for the Clippers? Yeah, I think so. Like, he's only 31 years old. The last time he played, he averaged 20.6 points and 6.9 assists per game. He's been resting for a year, so the body should be good. And again, I'll circle back to the betting markets. When it became clear John Wall was heading in this direction, they moved the Clippers to the third best odds in the Western Conference to advance to the NBA Finals. So they at least think he'll make an impact. And if I'm a Clippers fan, I'm optimistic.
There you go. There were some other huge extensions handed out, with 5 other players getting $200 million plus. Nikola Jokic getting the richest contract in NBA history, over $260 million to stay with the Nuggets. Bradley Beal re-upped with the Wizards. Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker both agreed to big deals as well. But GP, you're a Memphis guy. What are your thoughts on Ja Morant?
Absolutely love the Grizzlies maxing him out. It's a deal that's going to be at worst worth roughly $200 million. And at best, worth much more than that if he were to be All-NBA next season like he was this past season. The Grizzlies were fortunate to be able to pick second in the Zion Ja draft, and they were going to get whichever player dropped, and that was clearly Ja Morant. But you never know if that guy's going to embrace your city, if he's going to want to be there, because Memphis is not the most glamorous market or the biggest market. But since the day he moved to my city, he has really embraced it, and the city's embraced him. He tweeted after this deal got done, "Memphis is my home." Zion Williamson didn't tweet that after he did his deal. Devin Booker didn't tweet that after he did his deal. Ja Morant is in a place that's perfect for him, and the folks in Memphis are really optimistic that he's going to take the franchises to places it's never been.
He's perfect for that city, right? I mean, everybody loves him.
Could not be better. He's really embraced the city, become an important part of it. And when you have a 22-year-old superstar as the face of your franchise who wants to be there, that's not always the truth with players in small markets. Ja Morant, at this point in his career, doesn't want to be anywhere other than Memphis with the teammates he currently has. And that's not something Grizzlies fans should take for granted.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.